Impulsive people don't lack ambition. They just keep trading their future for right now. And the frustrating part is that they usually know they're doing it. They'll make a decision they know is wrong in real time, watch themselves do it anyway, and then wonder what's broken inside them. But here's what most conversations about this topic completely miss. The problem isn't character, and it's not willpower. Delayed gratification isn't some personality trait that certain lucky people are born with. It's a system, and most people were never taught how to run it properly. In this video, I'm going to walk you through why impulsive decisions keep intelligent people stuck, how the internal system actually breaks down, and why the common advice to just think before you act is one of the least useful things anyone has ever said on the subject. Let's start with what's actually happening in the brain when you face a moment of choice. There are two competing systems running simultaneously inside you, and they don't have equal power at every moment. The first is oriented toward immediate reward. It's fast, emotional, and heavily influenced by whatever is most vivid and present in your environment right now. The second is oriented toward longer-term outcomes. It's slower, more deliberate, and requires effort to activate. Neither system is smarter or more evolved than the other. They're both functional. The problem is that the immediate system runs constantly in the background, while the longer-term system has to be consciously switched on. If no one ever teaches you how to switch it on, or more importantly, how to set up your environment and habits so that it stays on by default, you're going to default to the faster signal almost every time. This is what researchers have studied extensively through what became known as the Marshmallow experiments, initially conducted by Walter Mischel at Stanford starting in the 1960s. Children were given a single marshmallow and told that if they waited and didn't eat it, they'd receive a second one. Some waited, some didn't. What made the study famous was that the children who waited tended to have better outcomes later in life across several measures. But what made the study genuinely interesting, once researchers dug further into the data, was the question of why some kids could wait and others couldn't. It wasn't about raw intelligence. It wasn't simply about self-control as some fixed inner resource. A significant part of it came down to the child's environment and whether waiting had ever actually paid off for them before. Kids from unstable environments, where adults frequently broke promises or where resources were unpredictable, were often making a rational calculation by eating the marshmallow immediately. If you've learned through experience that waiting doesn't reliably lead to reward, then taking what's in front of you isn't impulsive at all. It's adaptive. The system learned to prioritize the immediate because the future was genuinely uncertain. This is where the popular framing of delayed gratification gets things wrong. People talk about it as though it's a matter of discipline or moral fiber. You just need to resist temptation. You just need to be stronger. But what that framing ignores is that your capacity to delay reward is shaped by your history, your current stress levels, the perceived reliability of future payoffs, and whether you even have a system in place to support the behavior. If you're operating under high stress, your brain shifts toward short-term thinking almost automatically. Cortisol, the hormone most associated with stress responses, actually affects the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain most involved in planning, regulation, and evaluating future outcomes. This means that when life is already hard, impulsive decisions aren't just more tempting. They're neurologically more likely. The system isn't broken because you're weak. The system is responding exactly the way a stressed, overloaded system responds. Now here's where this becomes really practical and where a lot of people start to feel some relief when they finally hear it framed this way. Your behavior in any given moment is not primarily driven by your values. It's driven by your environment, your defaults, and the path of least resistance that those defaults create. If the easiest available option is always the impulsive one, you will make the impulsive choice far more often than you intend to, regardless of how much you want to change. This is sometimes called choice architecture. The structure of your options shapes your behavior more than your intentions do. A person who wants to eat healthier but keeps a kitchen full of processed food isn't failing due to a lack of willpower. They've built an environment that makes the impulsive choice the default one, and then they're judging themselves against a standard that ignores the system entirely. So what does the breakdown actually look like at a functional level? It usually starts with gap collapse. The distance between a behavior and its consequence narrows or expands in your mind, depending on how vivid and concrete each side feels. Future rewards are almost always abstract. A healthier body, more money in your account, a better relationship, a completed project. These feel theoretical compared to the immediate, concrete, sensory experience of the thing in front of you right now. Your brain is not wired to weigh a vivid present sensation against an imagined future outcome on equal terms. The present wins by default almost every time, unless you've built a way to make the future feel more real. One of the more effective techniques researchers have identified for doing this involves what's called mental contrasting, a term developed by psychologist Gabriele Oettingen. The approach involves clearly imagining your desired outcome and then deliberately identifying the specific internal obstacles standing between you and that outcome. This sequence, rather than pure positive visualization, activates goal-directed behavior in a way that wishful thinking alone does not. You're making the consequence more concrete by tracing the path realistically rather than fantasizing about arrival. Another piece of the system that breaks down is what you might call the false start cycle. Impulsive people often make enormous commitments in moments of motivation. They sign up for everything, announce big plans, restructure their entire life in a single afternoon. The motivation spike feels like momentum, but it's actually consuming the energy before the work begins. When the emotional high fades, which it always does, there's nothing structural left to carry the behavior forward. The system needed a small, repeatable mechanism, not a grand gesture. Motivation is a weather pattern. It changes constantly. Structure is what you build, so the work continues when the weather turns. The third breakdown point is identity delay. Most people wait until they have evidence of change before they update their self-image. But behavior tends to follow identity, not precede it. If you still see yourself as someone who's bad with money, impulsive, or undisciplined, your behavior will keep aligning with that story because your brain is always working to maintain consistency between who you believe you are and what you do. Changing the identity first, even slightly, even experimentally, tends to shift behavior faster than trying to force behavior change from the outside in. None of this is comfortable information because it means the change required is more structural than motivational. It means looking at your environment, your defaults, your history, and the stories you tell about yourself, and rebuilding those things rather than just trying harder inside a system that's still set up to fail you. But it's also genuinely good news, because if the problem is a system, then the system can be changed. You're not fighting your character, you're editing your defaults, and defaults can always be reset. The people who seem naturally patient and disciplined aren't running on superior willpower. They've built, either consciously or through circumstance, an environment and a set of routines that make the longer-term choice the easier one. That's not a personality, that's architecture, and architecture can be learned. If any of this landed in a way that shifted how you see the problem, the most useful next step is to look at one specific area of your life where you consistently make choices you later regret, and ask not what's wrong with you, but what the structure of that situation is designed to produce. Because the situation usually tells you everything. And before you go, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe for more mind-shifting and life-changing content.